So I've been really busy. I've been working over in the Lunacy Garden, and I know that I've made a lot of complaints about what was happening over there because of the bindweed and the cleavers and the rampant raspberries. But I've been working on it with a friend of mine and managed to clear it. And whilst I've been working, I've been thinking about something. The Great Awakening. So I'm going to share some of my thoughts about that with you. And I've been harvesting apples. So join me. We are smack bang in the middle of the Great Awakening. And why do I think that? Well, you know what I figure now? Now, from all my calculations, and certainly from all the diaries that I've kept over the past 21 years and more, and from my website, all the blogs I've put on there, and this channel, I've been tracking this for quite some time, and I had great optimism at one point that, it was going to happen around, the banking crisis in 2008. It was going to happen around that kind of magical date of 2012. It was going to happen, and so on and so forth. And I sort of began to put it on the back burner as far as other people were concerned. But I was contemplating it all the way along. Because even 3 or 4 years ago, I was aware of a lot of stuff. I mean, I've always been very aware of what's happening in the world. And I took a keen interest in sort of monitoring it in my own way, because I find it fascinating, and human nature fascinates me. And of course, I live alone. I've lived alone for 21 years now. So I have the time and the space and the supporting energy that's here to allow me the gift of being able to just ponder things. Anyway, I read comments on videos. I find them a lot more interesting sometimes than the video itself. So I watch a wide range of videos, and I don't follow anyone in particular, but I sort of tap in to the search bar, say on YouTube or wherever, or TikTok, or just wherever I am, a particular word or a particular sequence of words that I'm interested in knowing a bit more about. And then I scan the comments whilst listening to whatever someone is saying. The comments have changed completely. The level of knowledge that people are now exhibiting in these comments is extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And I can only put it down to this awakening energy. Because on the one hand, you've got a lot of devastation going on. You've got a lot of chaos, and, governments love chaos, because when there's chaos, you're not really looking at what they're doing. But anyway, that's my personal opinion. But there's a lot of that. And then there's a lot of people who are more and more aware of it and have developed quite an analytical approach. They're questioning things. So anyway, watch this space when I say, the Great Awakening. Keep that somewhere in your head when you're looking at events and talking with people. I've been surprised that conversations between myself and other people who aren't directly related to me within the wider social sphere, some of those conversations are really knocking me off keel, because I'm not expecting to hear from whoever I'm talking to this incredible awareness of what's happening. So I'm feeling really optimistic. Yeah. Anyway, back to the subject of renewal. So one of the plans that I had in my head, and I thought, okay, at some point I will implement this plan. One of the plans was to clear the lunacy garden. You know the lunacy garden over by the secret garden? It had got completely overgrown. It was like a jungle of raspberry canes, which spread everywhere, and bindweed and cleavers. And you just couldn't get it. I couldn't get in there. I had an apple tree in there that I was trying desperately hard to get into to, you know, take off the water shoots coming out at the top, which is like a summer pruning. I couldn't reach it. So let me show you what myself and my 1 day a week gardener, sounds very posh, doesn't it? But actually he's a young chap who comes up here and gives me a hand 1 day a week. And yeah, so he's got the strength, you know, the brawn, and I do all the kind of ordinary work. Yeah. So let me show you what we've done. So one of the things I wanted to mention, just as I walk you over now to the lunacy garden, is the fact that, well, it's not a proven fact yet, but I have a very strong feeling that it's going to be a very cold winter. Very cold. Now, I remember the winter of 2010 and the winter of 2011. And we were snowed in here for 6 weeks. The ground was frozen, the trees were frozen. It was like the land itself was put into a kind of suspended animation. It was very beautiful, but very scary. And in fact, there was an association with something that happened in the Gulf of Mexico. And if you're interested, I can talk about that in another video. It was a conclusion I came to. Anyway, yeah. So here we are at the lunacy garden. Massive, massive clearing, and the sun was shining yesterday when we did this, and it was quite sweaty and hard work. But the kind of groundwork, so to speak, has been done. Now, I've got trees and shrubs to go in here, but I have to be very careful about the planting, because for the next year or two, I will have to mow in here in order to keep the bindweed and the raspberries and all the rest of the stuff that was coming up from taking over again. So there's going to be a fair amount of work expended on this area. Now, the actual area itself is actually quite big. I don't know if you remember, but in the formative years of this project, I had a vegetable garden here, and I had it terraced. I had it terraced with lots and lots of stones. So I had like a bed lined with stones, and then I had a path, and you can see some of the gravel that I'd put down and all in order to make those paths. Then another bed, then another path, etc. Some of the stones are still in there, you can see. But one of the tasks that we completed yesterday was to take out all of the stones. So I'll show you one pile. There's one pile of stones. Now all those stones I actually dug out of the earth in the early years of the project, and yeah, moved them myself. And this is the second pile of stones. Look at this, it's like a big cairn, isn't it? Yeah. So, lots of work now to get stuck into. This is just the kind of groundwork, the base work done. But it's quite exciting. I always get very excited at the beginning of a new project. So I'm hoping that this area will turn out as well as this little area here, which again was a problem area. In fact, this particular piece of land in the beginning, at the very early days of the Bealtaine project, let me just kicking dirt out of my shoes here, was very wet, very, very wet. Then I had the drains put in along the back, and I had a lot of groundwork done, and you know, then myself a lot of digging and tree planting, and it's been an ongoing project. But what I'm looking for now is a manageable area. All this has to be manageable for me, because I ain't getting any younger. So a similar piece of work is going to be carried out on this part of the orchard as well, because again, I need to have full access to the trees so I can look after them, you know, do the pruning, etc., etc. So, there we go. So I've been over here working, and I've got the grass cut, and I've been cutting right back into the edges as well, because eventually, of course, all this is going to be cleared, and got all that done as well. And I had cut quite a lot of stuff and thrown it onto the side there. I'll just show you. It's lovely walking on fresh mown grass, I must say. So that's all kind of neatened up. And again, I've been cutting into the sides here just to make sure that the path stays open. Because one of the glorious aspects of this kind of gardening is that there is just abundance all the time. All the time. Now, of course, it does mean a fair bit of work if you want to keep paths open or keep, you know, things like bindweed and all down and stuff like that. But everything grows so well that even if you do make a mistake and take things out that you hadn't planned on doing, it all seems to fill back in again. So this is why I love this form of gardening, which I've evolved from permaculture, because I started with permaculture, even though I'd never been on a permaculture course in my life. But I had read all the books, and I had been practicing a kind of permaculture anyway in all the various gardens that I've had over the years. Let's pick that up. Another raspberry cane there. And of course, what I did, I evolved it with all the practice that I was doing into what I named Goddess Permaculture, which means working with Mother Earth all the time. So Mother Earth is at the forefront of everything I do. So she has to have her say in all of this. So I don't use weed killers, I don't use any kind of heavy machinery. I hate chainsaws and stuff like that, although occasionally they're necessary. But I just try to keep a very natural garden going. Now I've been harvesting apples today as well, and they are ready for eating. And someone said in the comments, oh, but it's only August, it's very early, isn't it, to be eating, apples, getting the apples off the trees. I've got all these different trees here. I don't think there's any two the same. They're all quite different. There's Worcester and I think it's called Katie. And don't ask me which tree is which because I've long since forgotten. But I know basically the kind of apples that come on each tree. I can identify them easily enough in my own way, inside my head. And yeah, it's been great just harvesting those. And again, people say, oh, it's kind of early to harvest apples. But as I said, they're all different varieties. And also, if you're familiar with Bealtaine Cottage, you will know this is the west of Ireland. It's very much defined by the Celtic calendar. And there are 4 basic seasons in the year. And they're marked with festivals. So if we're going on the standard calendar year, the first one is Imach, which is spring. Bealtaine, which is summer. These are the beginning of. Lunasa, which is autumn, and Samhain, which is winter. Lunasa, of course, begins on the 1st of August, or actually on the evening before. You can also go by the full moon, etc., or the new moon, depending on which path you follow, which cycle you follow. I enjoy celebrating. So I use as many excuses as possible. I'll go on the calendar month, I'll go on the new moon, I'll go on the full moon, because, celebrations are what we need. So Lunasa is autumn, and we're now halfway through the first month of autumn. So yes, of course we'd be harvesting apples. So let me see if this battery is charged yet. Almost. So I've got 2 of these for the lawnmower, and it's pretty good because it means that whilst I'm mowing, the second one is charging, so I don't have to make a big, delay in the work I'm up to. Now, this isn't a promotion for any particular brand or anything at all like that, because I don't do promotions at all right? No paid promotions. But I've got to say that in terms of reliability and manageability, so i.e., pushing it around, the battery operated lawnmowers are fantastic. I have one, my eldest daughter has one. They're both different makes. They're both equally superb. Can't complain at all about them. And of course there's no petrol fumes and all that coming out in your face. The other thing I have is a battery operated strimmer. Excellent, absolutely excellent, can't fault it. Very lightweight, easy to use. Again, no big fumes, no having to pull a big string in order to get the motor going. I used to think sometimes my arm would break, just pulling those strings. And the other battery operated piece of equipment I have is a hedge trimmer. And again, perfect, just perfect. So no complaints. And these pieces of machinery as well are much cheaper than the fossil fuel driven ones. So there you go. There's a heads up. I think, by the way, that all the makes are more or less the same. So I'm not even going to say what make I have, because like I say, I talk with my daughter about the various ones that she has and other friends and family, and they're all more or less equal. Well, I'm just going to leave you with some beautiful images that I snapped this morning, early on, as I was going over towards the Lunasa garden and trying to think out a plan for it. I'm beginning to sort of harmonise with planting. Yeah, I just have to plant some more. So I have an idea that I'm going to do some flower beds around the edges, and I've got some nice shrubs in pots that I need to plant out. So I think that's what I'm going to be focused on over the next few days. Yeah. But I think generally I'll have to keep mowing that middle area at least in order to keep the bindweed and the raspberry canes from sprouting and getting a hold on that garden again because it's been hard work trying to clear them all out. Anyway, blessings to you all and have a lovely rest of the week because today's Thursday and a lovely weekend to come. Blessings to you all.